Everybody, and welcome back to my 21st weekly update video thing. This one is for the 20th of January 2016. Sorry if my voice is kind of shit right now. For the same reason there's not gonna be those two new series that I said that there were gonna be. I have a pretty big canker sore right on my parotid gland, the salivary gland in the back of your mouth, the left one. And it's going into the Stenson duct, which is kind of nasty. So talking's not really the best, so I didn't want to record a full playthrough of Faster Than Light or do that episode of Rock of Ages, because I wanted that to be fairly decent. So I didn't bother setting up the green screen or webcam either, so there's not gonna be any webcam stuff this week. I didn't really record anything. This is the only thing that I recorded. And this is probably going to be a pretty short one because I've got to leave fairly soon. And I didn't really get much of anything backlogged. As you probably could tell by the fact that I didn't have... I was having issues getting everything up and ready on time last week by itself because I was working on my senior project. The big part of that was the PCBs, because they are too small and intricate for us to do on campus ourselves, and there's way too many surface mount things for me to want, and tiny surface mount things for me to want to do without any sort of solder shield. So yeah, I'll show you a picture of the board that one of the boards that I designed last week. That one took quite a while. It's the main motherboard for it. That's where everything plugs into to interface with that. So, yeah. It was quite the pain in the ass to make, but I got it done, and it looks pretty nice. And as you may be able to tell, I think there are, aside from the headers and other connectors, there are 4 through-hole components, and the rest of the 80 to 100 components are surface mount. It's gonna be a pain to make, and that main board, it's probably 2 to 3 inches across. That's the thinner part, probably 4 inches high. So it's pretty small. And there's all that shit on it. So yeah, the reason that I needed to get that done soon was because the place that I'm ordering them from is in China. So it'll take a while for those boards to get here. And I can't do a whole lot without that main interface board. So yeah, wanted to get that ordered so that I can actually do something with that, because otherwise that'd be a pain in the ass. I was planning on not having, I guess I'll tell you guys what the project in general is. It's a data glove, so kind of like a 3D space recognition glove. You could use it as peripheral for games. I mean, doctors would be able to use it for surgeries at a that they can't be on site for, whether it be just because there wasn't like a qualified surgeon in the hospital that they're at, or if it's like a quarantine thing. If the patient has some nasty contagious disease, you'd be able to do that from a distance, or you could use it for repairs on things that wouldn't really be too safe for the person to go into. I mean, it could be like repairs on the outside of the space station or something, just with a robotic arm that you're controlling. I'm not saying that you're controlling from Earth, I'm saying like from the inside of the space station, because the delay on that would be too nuts. I mean, you could potentially, but like the Mars rover, it takes about a full day for it to send the message and then get it back. But part of that might just be, it's probably just that needs to send the message at the time that it has direct line of sight with the rover. Yeah, so I was originally gonna try to do it all with accelerometers, but then I decided, well, that would take forever. And I mean, it wouldn't have been that much more expensive, but it would have been near impossible with just accelerometers, especially in the limited time frame that I've got. I've just got this semester to do it, and working out all those algorithms and things for just the accelerometers alone would be a pain in the ass, if possible at all, because I wasn't going to be using gyroscopes, and the gyroscopes are a few bucks a piece. So if I were to have that on every little segment of every finger, that price would add up pretty quickly. So I'm just using potentiometers for the joints on little 3D printed joints that connect to the hand. Still got to design those joints though. That could be pain. And another challenge, I'm not using a microcontroller. I'm using an FPGA and Verilog, the hardware description language, to program it. So that'd be fun. Not really a whole lot of Verilog libraries that you can just kind of copy to get easy bits of code completed. Like you probably know if you've done any coding for software, there's libraries that do pretty much all the grunt work for you. But that is not so with hardware description languages. It is, you're literally just telling the FPGA what to be, all logic gate stuff. I mean, there are commands and stuff. It's not like you're just sitting there writing out massive chains of logic like this, or, and, or. You can do like if statements and stuff. But yeah, one of the main reasons I want to do that, I mean, aside from the fact that I want to go into digital logic stuff, is that concurrent events are the main thing for it. You don't need to wait for an interrupt. You don't need any interrupts. It just, if you want two things to, if you need it to do two things at the same time, you just have it do two things at the same time. It's actually kind of a pain to have sequential events, but it's not that bad. At least I don't find it to be that bad. When I learned Verilog and stuff, the final project of that course was to design and implement on the FPGA a pipeline multiplier. I think it was 4 bits, but I mean, you can just modularize that and just change a couple variables. Well, not really, constants at the beginning of the program to make it a larger bit length. So that's cool. It's just that's going to be fairly difficult. I don't think it'll be too bad, but it's a challenge. I made a firefighting robot with it. I don't know if I mentioned that. This was after I transferred, so I'm basically the only one on campus that knows any Verilog. One of the professors knows a tiny bit of VHDL, but I much prefer Verilog because it's a lot less wordy. Things that would take many lines of code you can do in like 5-10 in Verilog, and they're really short lines of code. So yeah, that's nice. It's just less user-friendly because you need to remember commands and things rather than just basically write out a sentence. But yeah, I like it. It's nice. And that I decided to do the firefighting robot in that because, well, I mean, I wanted to do something with it because I just learned it the previous semester. And I thought this was a pretty good application for it. Like a weird application that would never... Well, I mean, it kind of would if you were designing a robot that didn't have, like, updatable software, because FPGAs are used to prototype digital logic stuff so that you're not spending billions of dollars on negatives for and masks for ICs. So you test the logic on the FPGA and then you make an IC with it. So that chip would just be the brain of the robot. But most cheap robots would probably just be just like a little microcontroller, because those are mass produced. But a robot that isn't like kind of a high range robot probably would. They probably wouldn't just stick a random microcontroller in. They would probably design something that fit their need perfectly. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And the robot, it was for the Trinity firefighting contest, but of course, just before my group, there was one guy that was supposed to do the navigation code on a microcontroller, and then I was going to just read off the microcontroller, the outputs of the microcontroller. Like, he was just gonna do the navigational code, I was gonna do the fire detection, and then take control over it when it detects the fire. And then I was just going to, because the FPGA has a significantly faster clock than the microcontrollers that we were using, so I would have just been able to read the motor outputs, because it was all pulse width modulation, and I would have been able to just see each pulse and process that, and then output it if it needed to be outputted, and then just hold it if I needed control. But the day of the preliminary thing, like the thing at school, he came to me about an hour before the prelim stuff saying, I didn't get anything working, so I had to slap some navigation code together right then. Got it kind of working, and we would have been able to go, but then a motor died, and so I had my group come and fix it, because I was just dead tired, and then someone plugged something in wrong and it fried the board. So that was a bummer, but it worked really well. But yeah, I'll probably be fairly busy. I might start kind of shying off on the amount of content that I'm producing. Just because, well, I've got to work on that senior project. So this week I'm probably going to be a little short because I've still got to order those boards. I finished the design of them. I put them up earlier in the video. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that's plenty for now. I'll leave it there. Oh, and if any of you know OpenGL and could manipulate a or some other 3D manipulation language, if you could write me some code for a hand, like manipulating a hand on screen, that would be fantastic. And I would be eternally grateful. But, yeah. Because I don't know OpenGL or any other language, I would need to learn the basics. Well, I mean, it's part of C, but I don't know it. I know C decently, so I could do the rest of the stuff. I just need that little OpenGL thing. But yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of whatever it is you decide to watch them in. Goodbye.